We just learned how to display a basic list. However, we're not going to be using that too often when we're doing our builds for our applications. Let me show you an example of what I mean by this and why a list won't always work for your use cases. So I'm here on Airbnb's website, and this is like the mecca for explaining development to beginners. But let's take a look at their website and see what's going on here. So you see all of these listings, and you think, oh, we can just display a list. But look at the different information that they're displaying. They're displaying the location, the miles away, the date that it's available, and the price, along with photos, a favorite button. There's a lot of components that it's displaying in this one group. But with our list, we were only displaying one piece of information, and that's all we could really do, and we were pretty limited. So let's take a look at how this actually works. So when somebody lists their property on Airbnb, there's not a developer on standby that's going to write new code for each listing. It's done automatically, and it will just display in the last place exactly how all these other cards are being displayed. Now, if we inspected what's going on here, what would we see? You can see when you inspect, let me select this real quick. You can see you can inspect the entire card. So it highlights everything that's being displayed in that card, and these cards are just repeating themselves. So information's in a database, and it's displaying all the information down the list, but grouping certain pieces of data together. This is what's known as a repeating group, and this is what we're going to go over in Bubbles interface. I hope you understand how this is being displayed, what's going on in the back end, but if not, we're going to cover that in just a second. But essentially, each group is housing its own data, but in the same format and the same types of data. So as long as users keep uploading information, it will keep displaying data in the order that it's received, unless you, of course, have some custom ordering. Let's get into Bubble, though, and see how we can replicate this. So here we are in Bubbles Editor, and for this example, we're basically going to be building a admin dashboard where they can see all of the users that are on their application. So let's do the first thing. Of course, we're going to grab a group, and we're going to drag it across the screen. And now we're going to utilize the repeating group, which is much more intuitive than the lists. And I recommend anytime you are displaying lists to use repeating groups, and don't do exactly what we did in the last video. That is only so you can get an understanding of how lists work. And of course, for some basic use cases, you can use that list methodology. But let's drag our repeating group out so we can display various users. Now that we have that set up, let's go back to our database and add a few more fields. So we'll come and select data. Let's come into data types, and let's create a new field. So for our additional field, we'll select the name, the email, and for this, we'll do phone, number. Let's leave those all lowercase, phone, number. And then we'll select, let's see if we can't have a number, and we will create. So let's collect the user, the phone number, the email, and we'll just display that information, maybe along with create dated. I actually want to add one more field, and that is going to be their name. So we'll just do the full name. We won't break it up to first name, last name. And then we can just select text, and we'll create. Now we need to go and enter a few records manually in our user table just so we can display it and save a bit of time. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and added a few users, and I hope you did the same and you're following along with me as well. All we did was just edit the user and of course input all the information. So we saved that, and now we have our list of users. Let's go and display our users on our dashboard. So we have the repeating group, and we need to edit what kind of data is being displayed within each group. So for type of content, we'll come and do user. And then what we want to do is search for all of the users in that table. So we'll do a search for, and we'll select user, and we'll do no constraints. So we'll just close that. If we actually come back and search for users, you can see that we have a sort by, and that is just a way to sort which order everything goes in. If you have a specific use case, you need to sort by name or when the user was created, feel free to use sort by. It's great, and it's used a ton. We're just going to skip over it for now. So we'll close that. Now we have these user item 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that is how it's going to be displayed. So for instance, if we drag a text box in here, that text box repeats all the way down. If we drag another one in, of course, it repeats all the way down. And this is why repeating groups are so valuable, because we only have to change one block and it changes all of them, but dynamically changes the data to reflect. So let's edit these. Let's go in and insert dynamic data. And for this one, we'll do the current cells user, and we'll select their name. So great, we have the user's name. The next thing we want to select is their email. So we'll select current user's email. So what else do we have? We had our phone number. So let's drag another text box over and display our phone number. So insert dynamic data, current cells users, phone number. Great, so we have everything. So let's preview this and see what our list looks like. So we preview and we can see, we're only displaying our information. Why is this? Let's find out together in another debugging session. Let's go to inspect. Let's see what data is pulling in. So we have a list of users, which is what we want, but we can only see user 1, which is my user. Why is this? Why are not all of the users displaying? It's just my user. Well, this is a good place to introduce privacy settings. So let's come back, let's close this out, and come back to our data. So you see we have this tab called privacy. Now what is this? Well, this is what dictates what information is allowed to be passed to which user. So if you see here, we have the user's own data, and it only displays this data when this user is the current user, meaning that I am the one that's logged in. I can only see my user's information. I can't see other information. So if you were to make an admin dashboard where you need to see other users' info, you have to allow or give a default permission to that user. So in our case, we're going to select view all fields. And of course, you can select, for instance, name or just phone number if you wanted to only share those and keep everything else private. But for our case, we'll select all fields and we will select find in searches because we are doing a search for all the users. This should allow us to access all of the information in the database and bypass that privacy rule. So let's test it out. Let's click preview. And now we can see all of the users, all of the emails, all of the phone numbers being displayed. So we have me, Lisa A, Alexis F, Lana R, and it's working just as expected. And if we come to inspect, you can see now that we can select each individual element and component. Let's select the whole thing. And you can come here and see, let's actually select the repeating group if we can. And now you can see that we have user 1, user 2, and all of their information, user 3, etc. And that's all of the information that we can display. So it's important to note that when you inspect an element and you don't see the data that you're looking to display in this little field down here, then you don't have access to it or you've done something wrong. So you need to go back and figure out why that is. Now, relating this back to Airbnb's website, I hope you can see how they're doing this. They are doing the exact same thing. It just looks much prettier than our example, but nonetheless, it's the same functionality. They're just displaying the same data on repeat with different data points that are entered by the user, and it doesn't have to be done manually. Everything is done programmatically, meaning automatically. Nothing's manual, and a user can upload as many listings as they want, and they'll never hit a limit, of course, unless you define one. So let's go right into the next lesson, because each lesson you complete, you're one step closer to be able to monetize this skill. And that is the whole goal of this course, to get you making money with your newfound skill. So I'll see you in the next lesson.